Hello, what's up everyone? Right now you would be thinking that I'm standing in front of the all-new version of the E Class, the W213. Well, that is partly correct, because as soon as you start walking on the side, you will realize that this is the V213 extended long wheelbase version of the E Class, developed specifically for the Indian market. Alright, before we get to the driving of the Mercedes Benz long wheelbase E Class, I have some numbers to show which will actually prove that how well engineered this long wheelbase version of the E Class is against the regular version of the E Class. And that will give you an idea of the German precision engineering, what they have done for the Indian market. Alright, so let's have an open air classroom session. Well, yeah, before that, this is the space saver what Mercedes gave, and here I am having all the numbers relevant to the long wheelbase version. As we know that the 140mm extra length in the long wheelbase version is known, but here are some more facts. We have all the data regarding the length and the wheelbase of the respective W213 and the long wheelbase V213 models, but the relevancy here to point is the wheelbase to length ratio. So the wheelbase to length ratio of the regular E Class is 59.7, and the wheelbase to length ratio of the V213 E Class is stunningly and astonishingly almost similar to 60.8%. So this is German precision engineering, what they managed to achieve in the long wheelbase version of the E Class as well, which approximately proves us that the handling won't be as bad as it is being portrayed as. And on that note, let's get to the driving now. Right, so this is the 5th generation of the all-new Mercedes Benz E Class, and what we are driving here is the E350 diesel. Well, when I was in Germany around October last year, I had rented out the Mercedes Benz E Class, the W213, not the long wheelbase version, but that was a E200 diesel. And even if it was a 2-liter diesel, it had enough punch to do 200 kilometers per hour all day long on the autobahns. But here, this one here is a 3-liter V6, and it is codenamed the OM642 by Mercedes Benz, and it is absolutely a stronger of an engine. And well, while there are a lot of good things about the Mercedes Benz E Class, but one of the great things is this V6 engine. So to spell out the specifications, this is a 3-liter V6 having 258 horsepower, producing 620 Newton meters of torque. Yeah, I'm like 600 plus torques is properly brisk. And let's have a quick go. Oh, the way the engine sucks in air through both of its air filters, and where the Honeywell turbocharger spools in to give that boost in this absolutely silky V6 of an engine. This is what this 3-liter is all about. But overall, we do have to remember that this is a long wheelbase version with added weight, and around 1.9 tons of mass, 6.6 seconds to the 100 is not bad at all. So yes, you do get the drive modes to play along with, but my tip to you would be to select the individual mode, wherein put the drive in Sport Plus, put the suspension in Comfort, and the steering in Sport. This will give you the best setting for every kind of possible driving you are looking into. Very soon, Mercedes is going to replace this V6 with an inline 6-cylinder engine, and that may happen next year or maybe next to next year. So that is the reason I would say get the V6 till you can. Also, a quick pointer that Mercedes is also going to launch the all-new OM654 codenamed 2-liter diesel engine, and that is going to be very much of a value for money buy once it is launched. And other than value for money, it is also going to be high on refinement, and the engine is going to weigh much lesser than this V6. so that overall lack of power will not that matter, and that is going to be really the engine to wait for as well. Next up is the gearbox, and the gearbox is a 9G Tronic unit, and though in the case of BMW where they outsource their gearbox from a company called ZF, in this case this gearbox has been developed in-house by Mercedes, and overall I believe this is the perfect gearbox to have in this kind of a car. It is suited for relaxed driving, it is suited for that odd day when you would like to have fun, and overall I genuinely believe that the gearbox has never been confused to select the gear. And I've been driving the car since quite some time now, and the computer has done all the math to put in the right gear at the right time without making the driver feel the car is confused, which is a good thing. Alright, now let's talk about the handling. So before we talk about the handling, let me talk about the steering, because this steering, this steering is quick, and by quick in a way wherein it's a long car but still it weighs up pretty well and gives you confidence at higher speeds as the speed builds up, and at lower speeds it's still very composed, calming, and having a very relaxed feel to it. And if you're in the city limits or in the highway, you'll still be going to having no complaints with the steering. That is a good thing because it suits the car's character. As I had explained earlier, the wheelbase to length ratio, which plays an important role, and the dynamics of the car are not as bad as expected, and this is still a good handling car. Mind you, please do not confuse handling with judgment. Yes, you still have to be very careful with the judgment because it's a pretty long car, but it still handles well. Irrespective of being a LWB, it still is a good handler, and that is really good engineering by Mercedes. And with all this being a LWB, it is much more composed than the regular E Class at higher speeds, and the word is composed. Yes, it feels much more planted. Alright, so next up is the ride quality. But before we get into the exact ride quality bit, I would like to emphasize on the tires, because this time around Mercedes have selected the run flats. Yes, the E Class for the first time has been equipped with run flat technology, and I was just checking, these are MO original star marked Goodyear run flats, and overall I'm seriously still surprised because run flats is a BMW thing, and they were always criticized on that. And Mercedes and E Class, which is a luxury oriented segment car, it's surprising that they have opted for run flats in this spec E Class. But the ride quality, even though being run flats, is not that harsh, and that the credit goes to the tire profile selected, because it is a 225/55 R17 spec wheels and tires. And if you remember, during the previous generation which had come in, there was a launch edition that had 18-inch rims. So I'm surprised Mercedes has not given 18-inch rims like they had given in the launch edition. But that has given a good amount of cushiony ride to the E Class. But there is again a flip side to it. The flip side is 620 Newton meters of torque, 225 mm width tires. It's not a great combination, and definitely you feel a bit of loss of grip in sport mode on concrete roads, but you can add that to the fun factor, I think, The top spec E350D, which we are driving here, is equipped with the Airmatic air suspension system. There have been some changes done to the suspension compared to the previous Airmatics. This is a 3-chamber Airmatic suspension, and whereas the older generation had only a single chamber, so that has actually given an edge over the previous generation as well in terms of the ride quality. With a 135 mm of ground clearance, going over speed breakers, you may think it's a bit of a tricky task, but definitely thanks to the suspension lift, press of a button, I can increase the ground clearance up to 135 mm from the original 120mm, which is in Sport and Sport Plus modes. So that takes care. And surprisingly, in the long wheelbase version, I'm yet to scrape the car with a couple of people on the board, and that is a good thing. So overall, I think it's not much of a problem having a long wheelbase car, low ground clearance car, going over the speed breakers. Okay, now let's have a quick word about the Mercedes Benz E Class interior, and to start with the front passenger and the co-driver seat. Overall, the interior of the Mercedes Benz E Class is emotional but very intelligent, to say so. And though it may be looking derived from the C and the S Class, but it is actually a common design philosophy of sensual purity, and that is what this interior is all about. I've always believed that a good interior is always a great mix of wood, leather and metal. And in the interior of the E-Class, it's abundantly present and very well spread and well used. Just look at this wood. This wood is absolutely stunning to touch and feel, because it is not having any fake laminate feel coating over it, and which is a great thing because you can feel the wood. And also this will help in not giving any fingerprints, so that's a good thing. Overall, a good amount of piano black usage, which is again going to be attracting a lot of fingerprints. Just look at the way the glove box comes down. Just look at the way this opens. It has that finesse to it. It has that beautiful, the craftsmanship to the interior. In fact, last year in May 2016, Mercedes Benz E Class had won an award for the best interior in a standard production car, and that completely summarizes the interior look and feel of the all-new Mercedes Benz E Class. But the highlight of the Mercedes Benz E Class interior is this large freestanding display, and this is completely a very high resolution screen, giving you most of the important information of your E Class. And again, another highlight is the Burmester 13 speaker sound system, which I'm not an audiophile, but still I really love the way the music system sounds. And the 3D sound is again the highlight of the music system, which is really, really good. So yeah, this screen acts as a very modern element in this classy interior and helps in breaking the classiness of the interior monotony with the latest tech offered by this screen. At the same time, I really love the high resolution camera of the Mercedes Benz E Class while you're reversing. There are various modes to select. You get many angles as well as a 360-degree view, which is of I believe the present generation E Class and not any car model, which is a good nice touch. Okay, I have to make two quick points criticizing the interior of the Mercedes Benz E Class. Number one, the lack of heads-up display. Well, seriously guys, at this price point there should have been a heads-up display in the Mercedes Benz E Class. It's present also in the F30 320D M Sport. It was there in the 328i, which I own. It is there in the direct competitor, the 530D M Sport, which was the previous generation F10, and it is supposed to be coming in the G30 upcoming generation 5 Series as well. So why Mercedes hasn't offered the heads-up display is still I'm not able to understand. Secondly, though the screen is nice and all, but in the global market you get a double display, and whereas here it's not a double display screen, and a complete double display screen would have been completely a different feeling driving the Mercedes Benz E Class, and I'm seriously surprised why in the Indian market this feature got omitted. Alright, now let's go to the back seat. Right, so before we start discussing about the rear seat space and the interior at the rear, I would like to apologize to the viewers that I'm not wearing a business jacket, or not I'm wearing a suit the way reviewers wear as soon as they are reviewing cars like the Mercedes Benz E Class or the S Class or maybe a 7 Series or any car in the premium segment. So yeah, forgive me for that. But coming back to the subject, this is the USP of the car, of the LWB E Class. So yeah, the seat has been set up as per my driving height, and I genuinely feel still it's good amount of legroom. And if I'm chauffeur driven, definitely I'm going to be sitting here and the chauffeur is going to be sitting there, and this seat is going to be put far ahead. So yes, the seat configuration at the rear is 40-20-40. Though the transmission tunnel is pretty massive, still it is manageable to sit a third passenger at the rear seat. And overall, I think the aura is just spot on for this rear seat space, comfort, and the mindset of being chauffeur driven in. This car ticks all the right boxes. And with the panoramic sunroof, it completely makes it a pleasurable place to be in, a much more airy feel to the cabin. So yes, it's not just about the space or the comfort, but it's also about the way the E Class makes you feel almost like the S Class. So two things I would like to point out here is in the Chinese LWB V213 model, here they provide a touchscreen interface to control the Mercedes command unit, which is missing here. And that's surprising because they are charging a good amount of money for the car. And why to omit this feature is completely not to my understanding. The next point is about the safety. Just look at the seat belt. It's just a regular seat belt, and which is a good thing. Seat belts are good. They save lives. But in the German model, they have something called as the belt bag, and that is a form of an airbag for the rear seat passengers as well, and that is missing here. I can understand Mercedes is not giving autonomous driving features, pre-safe, and all those features which are related to infrastructure, which is missing here in India still. But they could have provided a belt bag as a part of an extra safety feature, which is missing. So yeah, these two things should have been there in the LWB, is not there. So guys, after driving the new E Class and spending time with it for the last couple of days, it is fair to say that at 55 lakhs ex-showroom starting price for the entry-level variant, it is really value for money buy in this segment. But this is the E350D and it is approximately 14 to 15 lakhs more expensive than the entry-level E200 petrol. However, I would like to summarize by saying that this car will exceed all your expectations from this segment, be it when driving at the wheel or sitting at the rear seat being pampered. So it is fair to say that this car is a worthy successor to the W212 previous generation E Class. And on that note, thanks for watching.